I think we were overly emotionally involved. At least I was, that's for sure, where I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be a part of every single process. And that did um, affect our business, and that did affect the way we grew our business. I think it's like when you have that first baby and you're overly protective, you're afraid.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Podcast, where we explore the intersections of motherhood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, and in each episode, we're diving into mindset, emotional regulation, and the real stories of mom entrepreneurs navigating both business and family life. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode on Mindset Mastery with yours truly, Julissa Edwards. Today, I am interviewing a woman named Arleta Mykolyk. She is a mother of two, first and foremost. She has a 6-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl, and she is the co-owner of Just Med Spa. And it's actually opening its doors October, November 2024. So depending on when you're listening, her doors might already be open, but it was so special speaking to her because we got to learn all the logistics of what it is truly like opening up a brick and mortar, and what she has learned, because this is actually her second brick and mortar. She's previously owned another private gym, or a private gym, in the past for 5 years, was able to successfully sell, and now is on the verge of opening up her second brick and mortar. So this woman has so much knowledge of business. She had great tips on mindset when it comes to launching things like this. And yeah, just a really good inside look of what this looks like. So without further ado, enjoy this episode. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think. Arleta, welcome to our show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about you have very not surprising, exciting news where you're about to be opening up your second business venture, correct?
Correct. Yes. And this one's a little bit different. I'm opening this one up with a very good friend of mine, which is my partner in this. And I'm opening this business in another country. I'm originally
Oh,
from Canada. I'm actually Polish that lived in Canada, and now we're in Florida.
okay.
So it is also navigating a new country, a new business. Everything is new. But
Mhm.
this business is centered around women and health and beauty and wellness, and just making everyone feel their best. I've been working with these technologies for what feels like ever. And I'm really happy to share this in our new community.
Wow, so cool. So it's opening up in Florida or in Canada?
In Florida.
In Florida. Okay, but this is also new for you. Beautiful. And so how do you feel? This is your second brick and mortar, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so what experience from your first business are you definitely pulling over into the second? And what have you learned from the first one that maybe you know not to do this time?
I think my whole approach and mindset coming into this one is completely different. My first business came at a time where I had a different viewership on the business. I think the previous one started off as my baby. It was my husband and me that actually started it, and um, I think we were overly emotionally involved. At least I was, that's for sure, where I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be a part of every single process. And that did um, affect our business, and that did affect the way we grew our business. I think it's like when you have that first baby and you're overly protective, you're afraid. Every time they have a bump and a scrape. And that's the same thing that I think happened with me in that first business, where I had a harder time to let certain things go, or allowing employees to do certain things their own way that are not my way, but they were also good. So going into this, I've learned to have that detachment happen, where I'm viewing this is my business.
Mhm.
As much as it is a passion project, I am viewing things a lot more differently. The goals are different, they're clear, they're set, there is a bigger vision behind this. And I think that is the biggest difference, at least for myself, yes.
I love that perspective. So in the beginning, in the first business, you were so, which is not a bad thing, but you were so involved emotionally, so excited that like everything kind of had to be under your reign, maybe
Hmm.
unconsciously, while that was happening. And with this one, you're viewing it more as a detachment from self. This gets to be a beautiful company that gets to be successful, but I don't have to have all of my hands in it. I can lead from a place, from a distant place.
Yes.
That feels very, very nice. And so you related that to motherhood. Why is that?
Well, I think, especially when we have multiple babies, we could see that progress. When we have our first baby, we tend to be more, at least myself, like Mama Bear, where you're almost helicoptering over your baby. You're doing everything by the book. You're making sure that your baby is getting everything, even your toddler. Like the second they take a little fall, you're there, you're picking them up. By the second one, you know that they're going to be okay. You're not running immediately when they're taking their first steps and they just fall on their bum, right? So
Mhm.
I think it is knowledge comes with experience. And when you know that certain things are okay as they happen and unfold, and they're also learning processes, you learn when to step back and let those things happen.
That's a perfect analogy. I remember with my first baby, I have two kiddos. They're 3 and 2, so they're little. But when I had my first baby, me and my husband called the emergency hotline number like all the time. Like, he's hiccuping, it looks really bad. Like, what do we
Mm-hmm.
do here? And then with our second child, I don't think I called that line one time,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're completely right. You definitely gain wisdom with experience and anything new, and for business owners, especially people doing it for the first time, that's all new.
Yeah.
Um and so it can be overwhelming or you just don't know. So sometimes we grasp onto things a little bit tighter because we want it to be so successful. Where were you coming from before your first business?
So I've been in a similar type of industry, I think my whole career. I've been the technology that was at our gym that is going to translate into our new business. I've been working with that technology for, I would say, 13 years or so.
Oh,
So this is kind of where I got started while I was working in college at a salon. This is where I met one of my great friends and mentors. She was the business owner at the time, and she introduced me to Slim Wave Technologies,
wow.
where I got the opportunity to be a technician. When I graduated and moved on, I ended up owning one of the equipments and just doing treatments on my end. Then I went on the teaching front. So I've had the ability to teach clinics across Canada and the US, incorporate our equipment into their own space.
Mm,
And when I started the gym, it was I wanted a little bit more for myself or challenge myself. I've made it a habit of putting myself in comfortable positions. And when I was a technician and I had my own equipment, there's only so many hours in a day and so many people I could treat and impact. So this is where the gym came in, and we had that technology along with training technology to open up and help more people. So that's where that all came from. And as we transition to Florida, that is something that I want to continue doing, in having a positive impact in women's lives. And this is where Just Me was born.
I love that. So everyone has a different reason for wanting to be a business owner and or entrepreneurship. And it sounds like for you, you wanted to have greater impact and that you knew that in your technician role of just, helping one client at a time for that day, it was great. I'm sure you were great at what you did, but you were itching for more
Mhm.
expansion.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, beautiful. So would you say that leadership qualities have always been instilled within you?
I think I grew into them. I've always been, growing up, extremely shy, almost debilitatingly shy.
Okay.
And when I started to offer the services and work with women, it was such an uncomfortable space for me because I was in college, I was younger, I was treating and selling to professional women where I felt that I was maybe not there yet, but I did it anyway. And that confidence grew, and that seeing the impact that um, these type of technologies treatments had in these women's lives grew my confidence and my leadership skills. I think that's where it all really started.
I love that because it's such an important thing to share. Sometimes people that want to go into business, there's so many reasons and limiting beliefs that will stop somebody from actually doing it. But yeah, if someone has been shy or not a leader in their past, and they're thinking like, how the hell could I ever, run my own business? This is a beautiful story to go off of you can grow into leadership skills and maybe tell us what was the biggest belief that you held that helped you see this through in the first one and the second business.
Um, the biggest belief. So, like I said, I was very, very shy and very unsure of myself when I started this. So, in many different ways. And being a part of other people's growth and their success and making them feel better about themselves can be very empowering. And it is a feeling that also helps you grow as a person because it also helps to validate you in certain ways that I help to be part of that process. And I
Absolutely.
think that is something that um, took me from that first step to starting my first business. And then we grew that on a bigger scale because we had staff, we had employees, we have our gym side, we had our beauty side, and that multiplied. And having that community, that growth, that feeling grows your belief that the impact can be continued. And then you relate yourself. And as you grow as a person, too, you face new challenges. And go stepping into motherhood and being having a house, a mortgage, and dealing with different issues, you can relate to people on a different level and finding ways to empower them at different stages of their lives is
Mm.
just something that has driven me.
Very much so. It also sounds it's relatable to the second business. So I have two questions, and I don't want to confuse you. So you answer which
Okay.
one you want to do first. So I'm curious as to what happened with the first business. Is now your husband running it by himself, and you're doing the second one?
No, we actually, there was a time that came where we decided it was time to move on. So we decided to sell it.
Okay,
Um,
that's successful that you're able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a difficult decision, but there was a time where we kind of needed something different. And that was a whole process for us as well, because when we put it up for sale, our goal, we had envisioned to actually taking on a new challenge and moving to Florida.
Mm,
And that process actually took a lot longer than we thought.
yes.
But I trust now that everything happens for a reason. There are certain things that we don't know yet. And the moment that our business ended up selling, my husband actually got a job offer in Florida, which kind of facilitated our whole process of coming into this journey and allowing myself to open this business because it bought us so much more time. So that is what happened with our previous business.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's so important to highlight like I noticed your voice dip, so I was like, I hope you don't feel that is not a success because to me, I think that is successful, that you built something fantastic. You were, even though there was some challenges, you were able to sell it. And you're continuing the path of creativity, of what's calling you at this time. And so many people, I'm never someone who judges others for their decisions. I think everyone chooses what they think is best for them
Mhm.
at a certain phase in their life. And when I help a lot of entrepreneurs, or those that want to be entrepreneurs, and I often hear a lot of them wishing that life was different, but that they just don't think it's possible to do what their life is really calling them to do. And I can understand limiting beliefs are great, and they can come from trauma, they can come from so many different things. So I never push it past someone of like, oh no, but you could really do it. Like, I do think that everyone can do it, but you have to believe in yourself to be able to do hard, scary things like that. And so, as entrepreneurs, I do think it's a great blessing that one, we're courageous enough to do the quote unquote crazy thing that's off the beaten path. And more importantly, for me, from a healing perspective, I find it really beautiful, motivational that we can continue to choose what is what feels aligned for us at this time when so many people decide to stay where they're at, and again, not judging simply because of the lack of belief. Hey mamas, real quick, are you trying to juggle motherhood and that burning desire to launch your business? Well, I've got something just for you. I'm hosting a free webinar that dives deep into how you can master motherhood and entrepreneurship. Yes, you can do both. I'll be sharing the same actionable steps that I've used to help countless moms launch their businesses while staying grounded and connected to their families. If you've been feeling the pull to start that business and you don't know where to begin, or you're struggling to balance it all, this webinar is for you. In this webinar, we'll unpack those mindset blocks, get you calm, confident, and ready to thrive as a mom and a business owner. Head to the show notes to save your seat. It's totally free. You don't want to miss this. Let's do this together, mama. Join the webinar. The link is in our show notes. You seem to be very rooted in helping others, empowering others. And so the Just Me Med Spa, that's going to be doing that too in other ways, correct?
Absolutely. And that has been our mission, our goal when we're starting this business. When we were discussing the mission of what this was going to be with a friend of mine, and we were kind of looking over like what do women, what do mothers face? A lot of us, I think, at a certain point, we kind of get lost in ourselves where we become mothers, we become employees, we become either CEOs, entrepreneurs, we become so many different things to so many different people. What about us? When we ask, well, what about you? Who are you? What do you want
Oh,
to
I
be? Like,
get it.
what is your role? Are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with your health, your body, all these things? It's a question that a lot of us don't take the time to actually take the time and be that just me. And this is where that name came
Love
from.
it. Mm-hmm.
And so this space that we've created is centered about beauty technology, but it is about so much more. And I'll give an example here. I was treating a client recently, and she was going through a divorce, and she was just rediscovering herself. So this is what led her to come through and see me by helping her fix some cellulite issues, skin issues. And then by the end of a couple of treatments, she's like, well, I did not realize that how much more I was getting out of this. Like for the first time in 20 years, I feel like I'm retaking control of myself, of my body. I'm starting to look and feel like who I was or who I want to be now. And I think was just so powerful, or just resonated so much with what we're trying to accomplish through this center, that like we're not alone. A lot of us feel that way. And we don't need to wait until something happens in our lives to kind of take the time to sit and be and find that me that we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. I love that. So beautiful. A space when you were talking about, I was like, oh, I get it, just me. It's really empowering. And I love that. So would you say who is like your ideal client that would walk in those doors?
I think any woman that just wants to feel better about herself, take some time to take care of herself, because all of the technologies that we utilize are non-invasive and holistic. So they not only work to make you look a little bit better, fix certain body issues, but they actually work to help strengthen your muscles, to help rejuvenate connective tissue, make you feel
Mhm.
stronger, increase mobility, fix maybe certain incontinence issues. So it goes above and beyond just the beauty.
Oh, I love that. That sounds so like on a scientific level, so powerful, and that this is like long term or
Yes.
long lasting change. Yeah. Beautiful. I'm thinking like, would you ever, because I run retreats for mothers, and I'm like, that would be a cool thing to have. Would you ever consider, like traveling to provide these services kind of like on a mobile way for special events?
I mean, anything is possible. As we're doing this, like we would definitely like to expand the Just Me
Oh,
brand.
yes, yes, yes. We're
Um,
just opening.
as
Yeah.
we grow this, but we have the great opportunity as we work closely with the distributor. As I mentioned earlier, I teach. So we do have access to distribution, to teaching. So possibilities are endless.
Endless. Yeah, yeah. Tell us again. So when are you guys actually opening the doors?
So we're hoping by the end of this month we're going to be open. I mean, things as you open a brick and mortar, all sorts of delays come in, and I feel like we've
I'm
been
sure.
saying that for quite some time now. But we are just missing final touches to be finally able to open the doors.
Okay, so October, November
Yes.
2024. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Exciting. And so tell us what that looks like from someone who, yeah, is maybe interested in opening a brick and mortar. Like, what are the logistics? What has to happen that maybe most people wouldn't consider before opening up a brick and mortar?
So first, there are so many different things that come into play. So the location, the type of business you're running, you have to assess the type of licenses, insurances that need to come into play. Your design, can you operate a certain business in a certain area? And getting the whole teams together. I mean, once you get all of that written down, now how do you execute?
Mm.
Who's going to find your lease, how long of a space you're going to take, who's going to do your build out, do you need permits for these build outs, are you allowed to do certain things in certain areas,
Mm.
and that's all just before you get started.
Mm. Before you get started and before you start hiring, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you already have a team hired, ready for open.
So we have we're starting to get to assemble our team right now.
Okay,
As
okay.
you get closer, because I think too, as you're building certain things, you have certain expectations. Like, okay, this is we're going to be good to go for say the month of September, but then certain delays come in, and then it's month of October, and then it pushes back. So we've been kind of not hesitant, but we've been kind of waiting to get something sure before we're putting our team into place, because we did that previously when we owned the gym, where we kind of jumped ahead, where you want to hire the right
Mhm.
people, but then when your opening date is being pushed out,
You could lose some
you
people.
could lose them, and it's not fair to them either.
Yeah, good things to think about. Yeah, this is new for me. That's why it's intriguing. And I'm sure this is going to be so relatable to many of our listeners because, yeah, it's not, I do an online business, but it's so different to have a brick and mortar. And yeah, so what does the financing look like for that? Are you, I guess the two avenues are either you're paying for it yourself, and I would imagine that's a pretty penny, and or you're taking out a loan, a business loan, correct?
Correct. Usually those are your two avenues, taking out a loan, or having investors come in if it's a little bit bigger scale. But that would be your two best avenues.
Yeah, and so did you have like business insight to these kind of matters before opening up, you and your husband for the first one? Like my thought process, not knowing much about a brick and mortar, I'm thinking like, okay, you have to get a lease. Then you might have to do some interior, not just the design, but like the molding, like you said.
Yes.
All that costs money, right? So you need like construction teams to help come in. And so are you the one behind everything, or are you hiring experts to help you execute that vision?
So you do need experts to help you execute that vision for many different reasons and many different requirements. Some counties require um, an architect to actually approve a plan if you're going to be changing up the structure or the layout of your space. So you do need those professionals there to know exactly what materials they're also going to be using to give you proper estimates. It starts with an idea that is yours, and then you definitely need to hire the right people to make sure that you have no surprises going through the process itself.
Mhm. I love that. And so did you have aid in your vision, or did you do this by yourself? And when I say aid, like did you have like a business mentor, like somebody showing you the ropes, or was this all just trial and error?
I think our first business was a lot of trial and error. So that from there came a lot of insight. When it came to this one, I mean, we come with a certain baggage of experience. My partner comes with her own baggage of experience from a different field, and we're pulling those together. And we're honestly still learning in the process because, I mean, it's a different business, it's a different country, it's a different way of doing things. And I don't think that learning process ends. We're still stumbling sometimes and picking ourselves back up and getting back at it and keep going forward.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty and vulnerability because to me, these things are like obvious. Like, I'm like, of course, like you can't know everything, but I think someone from the outside looking in, they might have a different preconceived thought of, oh, you must know exactly what you're doing if you're able to build this great structure and have a plan. And, it's beautiful what you're creating. What would you say is an important mindset, perspective or key to have when doing something like this?
Have your vision straight. I think it's important to sit down, take a step back, and ask yourself, what do you truly want? Like, what is your vision for the next 12 months, 5 years, 10 years down the line? And what are the stepping stones you need to get there? Um, as long as you know that you could be your best ally or your biggest roadblock, understanding too, where are your strengths and where are your weaknesses? And working with your strengths and getting help on your weaknesses or working through them, finding out how you could get better. Um, and then building a plan. I think 90% of success is just showing up and getting things done.
Yep.
And if you actually get through the motions, things are going to happen. It's life. You're going to hit certain walls. And if you learn how to pick yourself up or find the resources to help you, you're definitely going to get there one way or another.
Mhm. I love that. Yeah, I agree. I think success is 90% just showing up, right? When it's not perfect and you're definitely your biggest ally or your biggest roadblock. Thank you. Yeah, that's really empowering because it's really all up to us and if we're going to make it or not. So beautiful. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know so much about you, your businesses, excited for this new one to open for you. It seems like you have a beautiful, not only vision, but empowering piece to this for women. So I'm really excited for you. Um, we usually hold space for a little bit more vulnerability towards the ends of our conversation. So I would love to ask you, Arleta, is there anything happening right now? And it could be anything. It could be personal, business, oh, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack. Hold on. I completely forgot to ask. We're gonna backtrack. Your kiddos, you're beautiful. You have a 6 and a 9-year-old, correct? So, that's actually really interesting because you're in the process of building something. What has that been like? Because I'm imagining that they're in school, right? They maybe have extracurricular activities. A 6-year-old is what, in second grade for
In
you?
first grade.
first grade and the 9-year old in fourth?
Fourth.
Fourth, yeah. So a first grader and a fourth grader. How is that like while juggling the beginnings of a business?
Maybe our case is a little bit different. My kids essentially grew up in our business. I mean, we had our gym when my son was an infant. My daughter was in daycare. They spent some weekends at the gym with us, some afternoons. So they've been around that their whole lives. I take my kids sometimes on business meetings just because I have no other choice, and they're growing up around this. And
Mhm.
for us, we have a policy where we're open with each other. If there's something going on, we communicate with our kids. We tell them, well, this so and so is going on. This is the situation, and this is how mommy's going to deal with it at their level. And I think that also helps them understand that we're not perfect and why sometimes we can do only fun things with them.
Mhm.
And they adapt. And having time management is crucial. Figuring out what your week is going to be like, what your day is going to be like, what is your priority, what is like, there's no way I can do my day without getting this done. And
Mhm.
everything else can fall into place because we all just have that 24 hours to work with. So figuring out how you're going to like manage it all definitely helps, and sticking to the schedule as most as possible.
That's so beautiful though. I'm picturing like your kids being a part of your business ventures. Like I picture them and maybe they have like walking into a real estate that is not yet built as you're in the building
They
process.
have.
Yeah, it's so beautiful because they're young now, but they're absorbing everything around them. And they get to see that mommy's always going after her dreams and she's always building something, which whether they're appreciative of it now or not, it's gonna be so beneficial for them as they grow up and get older.
Actually, I have a funny story. My daughter was maybe 3 when we started our previous business, and she spent some time with the at the gym with us. And I think one employee called in sick one day, so after daycare they had to come with us, and we were working, and a client came in with their daughter. So I was training the mother, and my daughter kind of took it upon herself. She grabbed the other kid. She's like, come with me. And she was training the little kid. So the mom had her workout time. The kid had their own personal trainer.
Aww.
And this is just goes that she was maybe 3.5, and they watch, they learn, and they have fun with it too if you allow them.
Wow. So absolutely beautiful. They're so lucky. They're so lucky to be able to grow in that kind of environment. Wow, kudos to you. So, let me ask this question actually. What are probably the harder moments in motherhood that have overlapped into business?
Mom guilt. I think a lot of us feel that, where they're like, although just taking an example on that story where our employee called in sick, and I have no choice but to show up and take over. But by doing that, I also feel guilty because I have to bring my kid to work, and she's going to go to sleep later, and she's not going to have all that much fun. She's only 3.5.
Mhm.
Um, so just feeling like you're not enough as a mom, or you're not giving your all. And then because you're not giving your all there, when you do get to work and put in the work, then you're kind of feeling guilty that you're not with your kids, or you brought your kids to work.
Mhm.
But when you step back and you look at it, now I see my daughter had fun in that. I look at those videos, and she was there. She was training kids. She thought she was the boss there. Um, there are certain things. I think nothing is ever perfect, and again, it's all about mindset and putting that pressure on yourself. Um, but that has been a challenge, and still is sometimes a challenge when you have to work and you can't put your kids to sleep. Um, but I think it's all for the greater good. And if your kids understand where you're coming from, I think they also are a lot more forgiving and understanding.
Yeah. The way that I see it is that, and not in a bad way, but they don't know any better. They don't know any
No,
better. this is a life that they get to live. And I think about, my upbringing, maybe you can think about your upbringing and like the things that you saw that your parents did that, again, you also didn't know any better, but it shaped you for better or for worse. With our kids, we're being a little bit more conscious these days, and we're definitely doing it for the betterment of their health and their development. Um, but this is all, while it can be hard, I would imagine more good comes out of it than bad.
I hope so.
We can only hope, but I think so. So, okay, girly. So let's now dive into the more later parts of this episode where anything from personal life, it could be business, it could be anything, it could be marital, anything that you are having a hard time with these days that I can just hold space for and hopefully give you some good guidance on.
Um, I think now we're opening this business and we're approaching that finish line, the stress comes in, right? We're working on deadlines, timelines. We wanted this open for yesterday. So stress is starting to kind of brew. It's brewing in our household with our partners, and not because there's any tension, but just because we're like, okay, we're done. We want to accelerate the process and get this done, and certain things are out of our control. And my husband and I have been in business together for so long, and this is the first time I'm going out kind of and doing my own thing. And he wants to help so much and he wants to get involved
Mhm.
and he can't help. So I think there's always that, um, there's certain tensions that come into the household that feel that they're completely out of his control, my control, and we're all living the pressure of this upcoming business and none of us feel in control. I think that's the feeling that we've been feeling lately.
Thank you so much for that perspective. Yeah, that makes complete sense. This is someone that you've built your prior business with, and um, you're Polish, correct? That's what you said earlier
Yes.
on. So I don't know too much about your culture, but if you could give us an insight, like within your culture, is it common for the men? I mean, I think that's common for a lot of people, but for the men to want to be like the helpers, the fixers of like, what's the problem? Let me fix it kind of thing. Is that relatable?
Yes. So I'm Polish. My husband's Peruvian. Our kids are
Oh, I'm half
Dominican.
Peruvian. I'm
Oh,
half
yes.
Peruvian. Yes. Oh my God, so cool. Yeah, I'm half Peruvian, half Dominican. Oh, that's a beautiful household. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
So,
so now
yeah.
I'm getting a better picture. Okay, okay.
So,
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You tell me more.
yes, my husband always wants to help. And I mean, he's my biggest supporter and cheerleader. So I think just like not being able to help in the way he wants to help is also um, challenging to kind of accept.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is first of all, it makes complete sense to me what you're saying. It's like you guys built something before. He was used to being your kind of right-hand man in business, let alone partnership. And so if there was a problem, he would be hands-on ready to work on it. But this is the first time that you're now venturing off with another woman via business. And it's like he's just watching from the sidelines, being so supportive, I'm sure. And also like, how can I help? Why isn't this moving forward? We want to open as soon as possible. And maybe the frustration also lies in like, I don't really know what else to do at this time. Like, we're doing everything that we can. So, would it be helpful to be more direct in the ways that you need support at this time? So, this time it's a pressure cooker, right? Like, we're just waiting, waiting, waiting for us to be able to open our doors. And correct me if I'm wrong, to your belief, it sounds like you and your business partner are doing everything you can to, open the doors. What do you think you need more support in these days other than like logistics of helping in the business? What support would you love to see from your husband these days and maybe moving forward?
I mean, he's been great. He's been hands on too. He's been helping and accelerate the construction. Um, Sometimes I think like we don't always need fixing. We
Yes.
sometimes we just need somebody there. And I think that's a really hard thing for some men to do because they want to be there and helping us.
Mhm.
And that is, I think, the challenge here.
Yeah, yeah. I never want to make blanket statements because everybody, every couple is different. But
Yeah.
yes, that is a common analogy where yeah, men tend to be fixers, and when you love somebody, you want to support them and help them fix the problem from a man's point of view, right? And a lot of women sometimes they just are seeking for that emotional support of I am really nervous. I am really overwhelmed. And can we just hold space for that? So is that what I'm hearing?
I think so, yes, because I mean, we're so close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is actually nothing to do with business, even though it's about business. It
Hmm.
could be, a new part, or maybe just another layer of your marital relationship of like these are the different ways that I get to be supported. Like even with me and my husband, he's such a fixer. My husband, he's of Caribbean descent, he's Jamaican. Whenever I have a problem, he sometimes won't look at me in the eye because I can already see his wheels turning of how he can fix the problem. And I love that. Like when I need things to be
Yes.
fixed, I'm like, hey, please help me fix this, you know? But sometimes, yeah, I'm just seeking emotional support. And sometimes I'm just processing my emotions too. So I'm like, I don't even know what needs fixing. I'm just running through the emotions of what's happening at this time. And yeah, sometimes it's just helpful to let him know that, like, it's a reminder because for my husband in particular, it's just like an automatic go-to of like, how can I fix a problem? And I'll have to like look at him in the face and be like, I just need you to hold space. And that's it.
Mhm.
Is that relatable at all?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, okay, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing, girly. I've absolutely loved this conversation. Congratulations once again. I'm sure that it'll be opening sooner than later.
Thank
Where,
you.
yeah, you're so welcome. Where can people find your company and where you're going to be located on this opening?
So we are opening in Weston, Florida, so South Florida. We are on all socials at Just Me Med Spa. You could find myself, and I also have different content related to the different technologies that we use and educational pieces on my personal socials, Arleta Mykolyk. But definitely follow Just Me Med Spa. I'm very excited at all the things that we're going to be doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I wish you nothing but the best. And it's been so nice to hear the brick and mortar side of business. So I learned so much. I'm sure our listeners learned so much too. And yeah, we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for joining me today on Mindset Mastery Podcast. I hope today's conversation inspired you to embrace your own journey of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. Remember, it's all about mastering your mindset to create a life of success and fulfillment in both areas. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more incredible moms just like you. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and mastering your mindset.